Welcome to our course. Over the next few lessons, we'll be showing you how to use QGIS easily and efficiently. If you're new to GIS, we'll tell you what you need to know to get started. If you're an experienced user, you'll see how QGIS fulfills all of the functions you expect from a GIS program and more. In this module, we'll introduce the QGIS project itself, as well as explaining the user interface. After completing this section, you'll be able to correctly identify the main elements of the screen in QGIS and know what each of them does, and load shapefiles into QGIS itself. This course includes instructions on adding, deleting and altering GIS datasets. We've provided training datasets for this purpose. Before using the techniques described here on your own data, always ensure that you have a proper backup. So why QGIS? As information becomes increasingly spatially aware, there's no shortage of tools able to fulfill some or all of the commonly used GIS functions. Why should anyone be using QGIS over some other GIS software package? Okay, here are some of the reasons. Reason number one, it's free as in lunch. Installing and using the QGIS program costs you a grand total of zero money. No initial fee, no recurring fee, nothing. Reason two, it's free as in liberty. If you need extra functionality in QGIS, you can do more than just hope it will be included in the next release. You can sponsor the development of a feature or add it yourself if you're familiar with programming. Reason three, it's constantly developing. Because anyone can add a new feature and improve on existing ones, QGIS never stagnates. The development of a new tool can happen as quickly as you need it to. Reason 4. Extensive help and documentation is available. If you're stuck with anything, you can turn to the extensive documentation, your fellow QGIS users, and even the developers. Reason 5. It's cross-platform. QGIS can be installed on macOS, Windows, and Linux. So now that you know why you want to use QGIS, we can show you how. The first lesson will guide you in creating your first QGIS map. Adding your first layer. We'll start the application and create a basic map for use for examples and exercises. So let's get started right away. So we're going to prepare the map. So we have QGIS open and we see that we have a blank map. Look for the Add Vector Layer button on the left-hand side. We're going to click on it and then we'll see the following dialog. Click on the Browse button and navigate to the exercise data/streets.shp. That's in your course directory. With the file selected, click Open. You'll see the original dialog, but with the file path filled in. Click Open here as well. The data you specified will now load. So congratulations, you now have a basic map. Now would be a good time to save your work. So click on the Save As button. Save the map under Exercise Data, and let's call it basicmap.qgis. So now you've learned how to add a layer and create a basic map. What's next? Now that you're familiar with the function of the Add Layer button, what about all of the others? How does the interface work? Before we go on with the more involved stuff, let's first take a look at the general layout of the QGIS interface. And this is going to be the topic of the next section. An overview of the interface. We'll explore the QGIS user interface so that you're familiar with the menus, toolbars, map canvas, and layers list that form the basic structure of the interface. The goal for this part of the lesson is to understand the basics of the QGIS user interface. The main elements in the interface are the layers list, the toolbars, the map canvas, and the status bar. In the layers list, you can see a list of all of the layers that are available to you. Expanding collapsed items by clicking on the arrow or plus symbol beside them will provide you with more information on the layer's current appearance. Right-clicking on a layer will give you a menu with lots of extra options. You'll be using some of them before long, so let's take a look around. Some versions of QGIS have a separate control rendering order checkbox just underneath the layers list. Don't worry if you can't see it. If it's present, ensure that it's checked for now. Next, we have the toolbars. Your most often used sets of tools can be turned into toolbars for basic access. For example, the File toolbar allows you to save, load, print, and start a new project. You can easily customize the interface to see only the tools that you most often use, adding or removing toolbars as necessary via the View Toolbars menu at the top. Even if they're not visible in the toolbar, all of your tools will remain accessible via the menus. For example, if you remove the File toolbar, which contains the Save button, you can still save your map by clicking on the File menu and then clicking on Save. Next, we have the map canvas. This is where the map itself is displayed. And below that, we have the status bar. The status bar shows you information about the current map. It also allows you to adjust the current map scale and see the current coordinate position of the mouse cursor. Now that you're familiar with the interface, start QGIS on your own computer and try to identify the 4 elements listed on the screen without referencing the previous section in the video. See if you can identify their names and functions. You'll become more familiar with these elements as you use them in the coming days. That brings us to the end of Lesson 1. So what's next? Now that you've seen how the QGIS interface works, you can use the tools available to you and you can start improving your map. And this will be the topic of the next lesson.